As many of you know, I'm embarking on a research project next year. I'll be researching how the 1993 Russian constitutional crisis affected American policy towards NATO expansion. I'm well aware that the 1993 Russian constitutional crisis is not very familiar to many Americans, but it was a pivot point where after 2 weeks after the crisis, President Clinton greenlit the promotion of expansion of NATO, which, if you listen to the Russians now, that's what's actually part of the cause of the Ukraine-Russia war that's happening. So it's a significant moment to read about, to research, to find out, to answer certain questions, which we'll talk about in a second. But the 1993 crisis, once you hear some of the facts, you're going to understand why the United States government got a little bit spooked about the instability in Russia. So in September of 1993, the Congress of People's Deputies and President Yeltsin had a political dispute. The Congress of People's Deputies ends up impeaching Yeltsin. Yeltsin disbands the whole Congress, and a little war in Moscow starts. So on October 3rd, finally, the Council of People's Deputies, people from the Congress of People's Deputies, go to the television tower in Moscow. They try to take it over by ramming a truck through the door. Gunfire erupts, and I think at least one American was killed there. I don't know what he was doing there, but an American was killed there. The next day, a beautiful autumn day, sunny, Yeltsin rolled the tanks right through Moscow, right past the American embassy, to the Russian White House, which is where the Congress of People's Deputies met, and proceeded to shell the White House and storm the White House and arrest the Congress of People's Deputies. That's how he resolved the political dispute. 2 weeks later, President Clinton greenlit the promotion of the expansion of NATO through the Partnership for Peace. And about 2 months later, Yeltsin had the Constitution, they had a referendum, and in December of 1993, the people of Russia voted to approve the Constitution that Yeltsin presented them, and it granted him wide-ranging executive powers that are now held by Vladimir Putin. So obviously there's some historical impact here, or historical significance as to how we got to where we are right now with the war in Ukraine, and some of the questions that I intend to ask here. I want to know, obviously there's some security concerns. People in the United States were scared when a president of a country rolls tanks past the American embassy and towards their own legislative building. Just imagine, any president of the United States in a dispute between the White House and Congress, and the president orders tanks to the Congress, shells the Congress, turns the power off, turns the water off, sends the army in, arrests them, leaving the building burning. The top half of the White House in 1993 was black. It was completely torched. That's a pretty significant event, and it shocked the American consciousness, at least as to the leadership in the United States, of what was actually happening. So what I saw in some preliminary research is that a lot of the decision was based on ideology. There was a distinct fear that there would be some kind of return to fascism and communism, which was obvious during the October 3rd and October 4th protests when this little battle was going on. You definitely had a liberal democratic Yeltsin against fascists and communists that were embodied with, or at least supported the Congress of People's Deputies, to the extent that the United States knew there was some ideological tension there. In fact, the American embassy in Moscow is right across the street from the White House. So the people from the embassy were watching the tanks shoot into the building. In fact, even a Marine was shot in the neck at the embassy on the 4th as well, in crossfire, I think. It wasn't, he wasn't actually shot at. But so it was a really shocking event. And the question becomes, how much did ideology play a role in this? How much was this the expansion of liberal democracy, where the United States and NATO found an opportunity to expand ideology rather than just security concerns for NATO expansion. Was it a combination of both? So what I'll be doing is I'll be going through the Clinton Library, National Security Archives, State Department, any national archives. We're even going to try to go to the Russian archives to see if there's things that they've declassified that haven't been declassified in the United States yet, to determine, how much ideology played a role in this, how much was this a security concern, and how much was there just a genuine fear that the Soviet Union was going to come back and rush into Eastern Europe? And was that even a possibility? The Soviet Union just collapsed. But those are some of the questions we'll be asking. And I appreciate all the support I've gotten. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.